Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Did you ever just want a 3-layer cake and not a 2-layer cake? And you don't want to be splitting that 2-layer cake up because the layers are super thin? Well, this is the recipe for you. We have a 3-layer yellow cake and I'm going to show you how to make the batter. I'm going to put it in 3 9-inch round cake pans, and it's going to be your go-to recipe for any type of yellow cake that you want when you want that extra layer and you want a little more height for your cake. Now, before we get started, I want you to click that notification button. That way you can see all my videos and all my tips. So become a subscriber, please. I really would like to have you. You are most welcome. So before we get started, we have to prep our pans. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and make sure you prep about 15 minutes before. If you know your oven, make sure you give it at least 15. Some ovens might need 20. So this is my round, 9-inch round cake layer, my cake pan. And get a really good cake pan. Make sure it's got relatively high sides. These are about 2 inches. And then what I did is I sprayed it with nonstick cooking spray. I put a circle of parchment in there, and I have a great video on how to make parchment cake circles and prep your pans as well. Respray it with nonstick cooking spray or butter, whatever you use, and then flour it, a little bit of flour, and then move it around, dump it out in the sink, and you're good to go. Now, I did that for 3 cake pans, all right? I have 3 cake pans ready to go. Now, the first thing we have to do, this is a creaming method cake, so we do have to get our dry ingredients ready first. And we're going to be using cake flour. Cake flour has a lower protein content, much more starch, so it's going to be a real tender, delicious cake. So in here I have 3 1/3 cups of cake flour, and we want to whisk these dry ingredients together so they're homogeneously blended with our chemical leaveners. So I have 1 tablespoon plus 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder. It may seem like a lot, but remember, we're making 3 layers. 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and you're going to whisk that up. You really want to make sure that your chemical leaveners are completely homogeneously blended in with the flour. No one wants a surprise of getting, like a funny taste, or you don't want your cake to go down or have holes in it inside. That's actually a thing where if you do not incorporate your chemical leaveners, you can actually have this little implosion of carbon dioxide gas bubbles inside your cake, making a very, not a fine little hole structure, but sort of big, like a rat went through it, and you don't want that. No. So we're going to get rid of our whisk. I'm going to get a big spoon ready when I add my dry ingredients. Over my electric mixer, I'm going to first put in 2 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. And we're going to be creaming, because this is the creaming method. And 1 1/2 sticks of softened unsalted butter. All right, let the creaming begin. All right, you want to get this light and fluffy. Now, ready to go, wet ingredients. 3 eggs, 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, ready to go. Because once you cream your softened butter and your sugar, the next stage is adding your eggs 1 at a time. I always add my vanilla because I never want to forget it, and it's easier to incorporate it with the eggs. And then I have 1 1/2 cups of whole milk. You can use any milk you want. You can use oat milk, you can use any type you want, skim milk, whatever. So you're basically going to be alternating the dry ingredients with the milk as we get going. But first, we start building this emulsion with our creaming of our butter with our sugar. And then once we start getting it sort of light and fluffy, there's a lot of sugar compared to butter, so you may not get totally light and fluffy. You may just get a lighter in color and somewhat light. I'm going to start adding my eggs. I'm going to add 1 yolk, and that's going to be about 1 egg. I'm going to let that incorporate before I add the next. All right, you want to do that because you are building this water and oil emulsion, it's called. You want this cake batter to come together to look beautiful and smooth and luscious, because that'll bake up with the finest crumb, tiny little holes in your cake, and actually give you a very tender product. Last egg in is a rotten egg. There we go. And once that is ready and incorporated, you're gonna make sure, at this point you can go high speed, low speed. It's not gonna actually incorporate or develop any gluten at this point, so you are safe to do that. So we're gonna go more on low speed now. And you always wanna start dry ingredients, adding them, and then wet. So we're gonna alternate about 1/3 of our flour mixture, and then we're gonna add half of our, about 3/4 of a cup of our milk, and then we're gonna go back to our flour, add the remaining milk, and then end with our flour, and that's it. But alternate sounds like such a big deal. It's not. You just don't want to overly just dump everything in all at once. And I have a rubber spatula in case I just want to give it a good go around if things get stuck on the side. All right, now 3/4 of a cup, slowly add this. Little slow, little sloshing. We got a little sloshing, but that's okay. Slow down, and you want to add about half, okay? So when it's about 3/4 of a cup, we're done. A little bit more. And I'm already getting a luscious batter. I'll show you. Okay, it's not perfect. It may look a little grainy, and that's fine. It may look a little grainy because not all the flour is added yet, so don't worry about it. But if I see some dry ingredients, I'm going to go around my bowl and clean off my paddle a little bit. All right. All right, put this on low speed. Again, we're going to start adding our dry ingredients, another 1/3. You don't have to make, you don't have to make it exactly 1/3. You don't have to go crazy, but just eyeball it. Use your eyes. Your senses are really important. 1 more spoonful, and I'm calling it, okay? And now we're going to add the remainder of our milk. Okay, slow. No sloshing, but as your batter starts forming, you will get a little bit more of a thicker batter, so you do want to thin it down with the milk. Just go easy when you add it. A little bit at a time, and it will incorporate it. It will look a little curdled in the beginning. That's very normal until all your dry ingredients are added. And then what I like to do before I fill my pans is I always like to scrape around the bottom of my bowl, because my electric mixing bowl has that little bump on the bottom. Not all brands have it, but some have it. And you just want to make sure you get everything incorporated, because sometimes you may find some dry ingredients on the bottom or some unincorporated batter from the rest. All right, so we're at the tail end. All right, we begin and end with our flour. All right. Looks lovely. Sometimes I just give it a quick go around. I'm going to show you what this looks like. It is a beautiful batter, if I do say so myself. Just lovely. Lovely. And I do see flour on the sides. So what I'm going to do, you can see on the flour on the sides. So what I am going to do is clean this off. If you weren't here, I'd use my fingers. But then I'd be washing them all the time. So I know you don't want to be watching that. So I'm just going to, see, I'm on my best behavior when you're here, which is good. So I'm going to go around. See how I'm just going to go around? There's a little flour. Don't worry about it. Just incorporate it gently. You don't want to overmix, but again, we're using this beautiful cake flour, very low protein. high starch. Isn't that lovely? So you're going to divide your cake batter amongst your 3 pans. You're going to even it out and bake the layers. Don't let them touch in the oven between 30 and 35 minutes, or until a small sharp knife inserted into the center should come out clean, or you push it with your finger and it pops back up. It's going to be delicious. So enjoy this cake, and I hope you make this often when you want that extra layer on top. Become a subscriber. Till next time.